Hey everybody, how are you today? How's your last day of August 2017 going? I can't believe August has flown so fast, and I know I say that every month, but this is one I'm really sad to see go. It's been a fabulous month. I've gotten to spend time with family and friends, and we've done all kinds of fun things. Those of you who have kids have gone back to school. Grown-up kids are going off to college for the first time, and parents are feeling separation anxiety because parents are that way. We're emotional, even though we raise our kids to be independent and strong. When they finally fly the coop and go off to college, it leaves us a little bit flustered as what we can now do with our time. Well, guess what? Labor Day weekend is on its way, and you know what Labor Day weekend signifies? The official start of quilting season. Hooray! I'm looking forward to cooler days, warm sweaters, hot chocolate, maybe some spicy cider, and a whole lot of quilting ahead. Hi, everybody who's joining. I'm so glad that you're joining me tonight. What have we got going on? First of all, you notice this hairdo? It's a very bad hairdo because this is the way that my life goes. My friend Irene came to visit for a week after we went to, after I got back from Minnesota. And somewhere along the line, between switching suitcases and going here and there to the cabin and back to the cabin again, and I can't find two things. One thing, my curling iron. I have no idea where my curling iron is. So of course, I'm getting ready about 15 minutes ago for Quilt-Cam. It's like, where's the curling iron? Is it at the cabin? I don't know. So this needs a trim. And this is just to get the stringy off of hanging in front of my head. The other thing I can't find, my makeup bag. I have no idea if I have left it at my aunt's house in Minnesota, if it's up at the cabin, or if it's any plethora of suitcases or bags that I've used since then. Whoops, just dropped triangles. So this is what we call get real quilting, and it's probably one of the things I do best, because chances are if I show up anywhere, if I go out without makeup or my hair not done, that's when somebody will recognize me and say, can we have a picture? Can you sign my book? So here we are. I put a new tutorial on the blog this week. Did you see it? It's for the sugar bowl block, and it all started because this weekend I posted one of my Quiltville quotes on a picture of an antique quilt top that is a top that I found in Texas. I actually purchased this top and brought it home, and it now lives with some others in the hands of Mary Koval. I rehomed some vintage tops to her that I think she will love. They have great fabrics. I can't keep them all. You just can't keep them all. But I saved pictures of the quotes, and I put my little words on it, and up goes that little Quiltville quote. And dang it, if that block didn't just beg to be made out of recycled shirts. It begged. It has stripes and plaids and shirtings and other things in it, and it was dated from about, I would say 1900, 1910, right around in there. So if you wanted to see what that block looks like, click to the free patterns tab at the top of my blog and scroll down to S for sugar bowl, and you'll see a picture of not only the full quilt, but a block tutorial to put those little blocks together. Now there's something really special about small, simple, traditional blocks. I love blocks that I can get out of two sizes of units. So you can see here on my board, this is some cutting I did just within the last half hour. That's how crazy it's been around here. I've cut myself out 5 block sets. These block sets come from 1.5" strips and 2.5" strips. It's very, very simple, but there's a lot of joy that comes in with simplicity, don't you agree? So we're gonna make some 4 patches with 1.5" strips. You need 3 of those, and then you need 4 half square triangles that finish at 2 inches. So the half square triangles are the same sizes as the 4 patches when they're finished. And then you just need a couple of plain 2.5" squares that become the corner of the block. So we have 3 things here: 4 patches, half square triangles, and some bigger plain squares that are the same size as the 4 patches and the half square triangles. Now this block is related to the Jacob's ladder block, but it's not quite the same. And if you want to know what the difference is, you can head on over to the free pattern and see photos up close and personal and see what those are about. What I'm sewing on today, I've got my probably early 60s. We think late 50s or early 60s pink Atlas setup. Why this machine today? Because I didn't have time to set up another one. I've been at the computer all day writing stuff for my next book. I've got deadlines looming. My rough draft is due the 2nd of January, so we're just under the gun. But I didn't have time to change out the machine. But there's a good thing about that, because the seam guide was set from the last time that we sewed here. So I know that I'm going to get a good 1/4 inch seam with these. Now what I'm doing with these blocks, and we will check into email here just shortly, is cutting triangles with the Essential Triangle tool from 2.5 inch strips. And you can see I have marked the line I'm cutting with one of the ruler stickers. I absolutely love these ruler stickers because I can move them around the ruler. I can use different colors to mark different lines. They're easily visible, and they don't leave any residue or gum on the ruler. So I have already cut these pairs, and what I'm going to do is just send them through the machine. Now what we're working with here is a light on one side and a dark on the other. Remember, these are from 2.5 inch strips for 2 inch finished half square triangles. And this is just really simple to do this. I'm not pushing or pulling as those go through the machine, but having that guide on the machine bed gives me a surface to ride up against. And I really like being able to see my fabric run up against the edge. Now when you get enough of these blocks kitted up, and we get the first one to a certain point, we'll be able to chain these together and make good use of our time. Unlike, where did it go? Oh, this was my foray into Y seaming last night. These were little extra diamonds. Do you know how long this took? These are 2 inch sides. Stop and start and stop and start and stop and start. And I can see why English paper piecing or traditional hand piecing is the preferred method for these, because 2 inch seams, not a fan. Okay, so we are sending these through. Can you even hear this machine? Barely. It's a sweet ride on this one. Now, if I want to keep my chain continuous as possible, I can also send my 1.5 inch strips through. And these again are just a light to a dark. You choose the colors, and I'm not just dealing with neutrals against colors here. It can be a light color against a dark color. I just want to get as much variety as possible. And now while that's under there, we'll snip these off. So here is my little chain of triangles. If I had didn't have Quilt-Cam going and I didn't mind turning my back to everybody, I'd press over here where my pressing pad is, but we're going to try to keep this front and center. What I love about continuous piecing with the easy angle, or any other specialty ruler that you've got, whether it's companion angle or essential triangle tool, do you see this little blunt spot there? It allows us to chain sew one behind the other without triangle tool or triangle tips overlapping. So one dog ear is already gone, and we're just going to press these to the dark. I'm a big fan of finger pressing because it doesn't push the fabric out of shape. We just want a crisp seam. We want a good sharp crease on that fold line. We don't need to mess with the outer edges of the unit. So here we are. Can we see how we did? Let me grab my ruler here. 2.5 inches. Exactly. Perfect. So I tell you what, I'm going to jump in here, and you can see I've got my phone on a cord. Yes, that's the other thing I didn't do, charge my phone before we started. So we've got some extra juice going here. I'm going to be checking my email tonight intermittently. If you've got something you want to send me, you can drop me a line at quiltville@gmail.com. I'd love to see your finishes, your work in progress, and see what you've got going on. I've got one right here at the top of the queue from No name. This one is from C, just the initial C, Benson. Please say hi to my virtual California friend, Rosa Sandoval. She introduced me to you and Quilt-Cam. I know Rosa. That's wonderful. This is made out of 1.5-inch squares using your pattern, Irish chain. I made a mistake and started sewing with 1.5-inch squares, so then had to downsize the neutral area as well. Love tiny pieces, and I'm now getting it ready to quilt. So she's got her happily scrappily Irish right there, ready to quilt, all from 1.5-inch squares and other pieces. That is absolutely beautiful. I love squares. I love triangles. I love simple shapes, and the variety of scraps is what makes this one so fun. This is a great job. So hello to you, initial C, and to Rosa as well. Glad to have you with us tonight. Okay, whoops, Mary also says, Brandy and I send you hello from the Walla Walla Fair. Oh, this is from Mary. Brandy is doing her butterfly hexies. I'm showing the Go Baby and making blocks with kids who come by, watching from sweltering Walla Walla. And this is from Mary. So I'll send you, have you look at, this is each of the photos that I can download there. So you can see some smiling faces and some projects at the fair going on. You know, the fair is one great way where we can get a lot of quilt promotion out there to the world and to those who might be quilters but not even know that there is a guild. So thank you for sharing what you've got going on, Mary. Jennifer says, the sound is great. I'm sewing fence rails while you web. That's wonderful. So this is from my friend Jen, who calls herself Wild Zipper, which I don't even really remember why, but it just every time I see Wild Zipper, I get just giddy. It just makes me smile. Oh, it's Carla in Boyceville, Wisconsin, and she is the one who said hello to Rosa. So hello to you, Carla. Glad you sent your name. This one's from Lynn in Sydney, Australia. She says, love your work. I'm currently making your H quilt. So many pieces and so much fun. Keep a great day and keep smiling. I'm so glad that you like it. That H quilt is one of my favorites. If you wanted to see what one we're talking about, it's called H is for Happy, and it's found in the digital download section of the Quiltville store. I've also got some hourglass leaders and enders still going on. We're on the last row of, oh gosh, I think it disappeared. These blocks sewn in fours. So do I sound frazzled to you? I'm feeling a little bit frazzled. It just seems like it's been running from one thing to another. So I'm going to just remove the dog ears from these four because I don't sew units into blocks without dog ears gone. They just make it really hard to align a square squarely. And I'm going to send a leader ender through to get this next strip off from behind the machine. I built a bunch of hourglass halves and now I'm just sewing them together. Okay, so here's our strip set. How do we determine what length the strip set needs to be? I'm going to be making 1.5 inch cuts across the strip set, and I know that I need 6 of these. So 1.5 times 6 is 9. And then I add 1/2 to 1 inch to the length of that strip set, bringing it up to between 9.5 and 10. And I usually just lay my strips on the cutting board and say, okay, that's about long enough, and whack it there and set the other pieces aside. That way I know I can put strips away and I'm only dealing with the size that I need. So these were pre-cut between 9.5 and 10. And then to make it easy on myself, for the next step, I'm just going to fold it over in half, and with my scissors, just cut this in half. And this way I can turn the top strip around, and can you see that I will be opposing the strip sets? So dark is on light, light is on dark. This way I can cut these into already matched pairs, and we're going to need 3 of them. So I'm going to nest those seams, and I think I can actually tilt the camera just a hair bit more so you can see what's going on the table here. I also should have turned on my air conditioning because, speaking of sweltering, it's really too hot to be wearing a long sleeve shirt. All right, so I need 3.5 inch cuts, and I do love to use my small little Quiltville ruler. It's got the Creative Grids grippy dots on the back of it, and small rulers are great for small cuts. So I'm just going to make 3.5-inch subcuts here. 1, 2, and 3. I usually do a bunch of these, you know, maybe work on 12 blocks at a time, because stopping to cut 3 subcuts just seems not as productive. And I also really don't prefer to cut sitting down, but with it being Quilt-Cam time, we're kind of limited here. I'm going to send these through the machine with the top seam allowance pointing up towards the needle, and the dark square is going to hit the needle first. We're going to spin the seams on the back of these. And even though I love spinning seams, not all patterns will work if you do spin them. So please check whichever pattern you're making. Look at your units. Make sure that the seams will work with the unit that they're going next to. Okay. And guess what? We get to sew another hourglass leader and ender. My poor checkerboard rails, that is this year's leader and ender, is sitting in a basket at the cabin, pretty much untouched until I get these done. Oops. Alrighty, here we are. So here's a leader ender pair and 3 4 patches. If you're working on 6 to 12 blocks at a time, you can do a lot more chain piecing, but this is just a quick demo, so we're just doing what we can. And again, all dog ears go off immediately, even on hourglass units. Okay, so I'm going to open these up just quickly, just so that I can cut them apart and spin the seams. These are a little bit thicker in the middle because of the weight of the fabric, so I will turn to the side and use my iron and put my back against you for a second. Sorry about that. Okay, this is just very, very easy to do, and we've done this quite a bit. But if you remember, if you're making Idaho square dance, they don't spin, but it's just a matter of lifting that center seam allowance into a 4 patch in the center. So 3 will be going the correct way, 1 is going the other way. The one that's going the wrong direction, just grab both layers and lift it up. Just lift it up, and it will undo a couple of stitches in the center so that you can see that nice 4 patch in the middle. And that really helps these thicker fabrics, like some of the shirtings, lay a lot flatter. So I do these, and I kind of just finger press, and then I'll take it to the iron. That one got a little bit of a pleat in it. Okay. Remember that heat can distort the shape of fabric because of the way that the warp and the weft work. So just be careful there. But here's our little 4 patches. Let's go back to our email and see what we're doing. This one is from Barbara, who says no sewing, and it's got a frowny face on it. She says, oh dear, got a sprain at work, so no sewing this week. Last week I was working on garden party that I started in Bedford, Pennsylvania in July. Tonight I'm just tidying up and enjoying Quilt-Cam. Well, Barbara, keep that ankle up. Take it easy. Hopefully you'll be back to sewing rather quickly. Wendy says, yay, it's the first day of spring here in Australia, and she's got a pink flower on there, which means fall is right around the corner here. She says, I'm off to work, but I will watch you later on. You look beautiful, but you said you were feeling a bit frazzled. You love to sew. Take a deep breath and relax. All of us out here are your friends, and we love you. Everything in your world will be calm. Thank you, thank you. I will repeat that in my mind. Thanks so much. Have a great day at work. All righty. And then I did see Irene. Irene's ringing through, and she says, hello from Louisville. Sherry, Barb, and I are at the studio working on a variety of projects. So glad to see you on Quilt-Cam. So here's for everybody in Louisville. She said, finger is almost as good as new. Yeah, she did a slicer job on her finger while we were retreating at the cabin. You know, accidents happen, and there's no sense in beating yourself up about it. We just don't bleed on the fabric. get done whatever needs to be done. They just super glued her back together, and we were back sewing by that evening time. She says, only 2 more feathered star blocks to do to get the shop sample together. You're looking good, and I'll talk to you soon. She sent a picture. So here's from the gals at the Cozy Quilter in Louisville. And my picture does not want to turn, so I am just going to biggie. Sherry, Irene, look at that. Isn't that great? It's nice to know that quilters are sewing along in real time. You girls have a great time at the studio making those shop samples. Okay, so this is what we're going to do here. And I really do need one of those nifty batting covered boards. But all I'm going to do is lay out my 3 4 patches with the darks going sideways across. You see that? Okay. Now, where did my half square triangles go? The difference between a Jacob's ladder and the sugar bowl, this isn't going to want to stay on the slidey board, okay, is that the lights go up the chain in the sugar bowl instead of the dark. So the 4 patches are rotated. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but look what happens when you put the light triangles and one on the floor. So now the light triangles are touching those 4 patches, and the whole appearance of the 4 patch disappears, doesn't it? So now I have this kind of a funky, weird shape. I'm not even sure why it's called a sugar bowl or broken sugar bowl, but if I turn it this way, does it kind of look like cut glass? I think that's what they were trying to imitate here. Who knows why blocks are called what they are? But when you add 2 plain light squares into the corners, it completes the block. So now we've got the sugar bowl block laid out. This block has subtle differences from Jacob's ladder, but when you sew these blocks together, they make really, really interesting secondary designs. And remember, you can set it with an alternate block, or you can put it on point. You can rotate these into a diamond or into an X and make a pattern that chains throughout the quilt. It's just a fascinating block to play with. And it is, of course, just based on a traditional 9 patch. We've got 3 rows across by 3 columns down, and that makes it extremely easy to assemble. But when you put all the blocks in the quilt, it really takes on a lot of punch, a lot of life. This block, by the way, finishes at 6 inches, which is the perfect size to use up my 1.5 and 2.5 inch strips. So we're going to sew here and just start assembling this guy. And in the meantime, I will use my hourglass units as leaders and enders because I want those done so bad. Okay, so the first 2 columns are now chained together. We've done this, the last one we did was with the full quilt on the floor. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see the top was finished? I don't think I photographed it yet, but it's right here behind me. You want to see it? So this is as far as I am. These are the string snowballs that we were webbing the top with these indigo 9 patches the last time we did Quilt-Cam, and you can see it's kind of got a floating star point border. There's going to be another pieced border around this, but I'm going to keep that one secret for a while. But since you guys already saw this in progress, I thought I could show it to you. So this one is destined for future publication as well. And I do love how it turned out. I finished watching all of the Netflix episodes of from Whence Calls the Heart or Calls from the Heart or something. And I love the heartfelt kind of shows that I can just kind of tune out with and just mostly listen, not watch. Okay, so here's our first 2 columns. Now this block is a little bit tricky because we have to press it in a certain direction. And those directions for the arrows on pressing are found in the pattern under the free patterns tab. There's also a printer friendly link so that you can print out the PDF and put it in a binder and keep it. The arrows are drawn right on the photo. But I'm going to take this row, and it starts out just like a regular 9 patch. So this seam is pointing this way, this one's pointing this way, this one's pointing this way. But when I add the next 3 units on, the top row all goes one way, the middle goes the next, and the bottom row goes the next way. So they're not in, out like a traditional 9 patch, or they won't nest when I go to put the blocks together because they'd be all the same no matter which way you rotated them. Okay, so I'm just adding these pieces on. Make sure I don't get that turned. It's really easy to get asymmetrical blocks turned inside out. And that's another good thing about webbing them, is that you don't turn them around. You just pick the piece up and it sews on in the same order that you pick it up. Okay, 2 more leader ender triangles here. I am so sick of this project. Did you ever get to that point? You're just so sick of a project, you just want it done. And I suppose I could just take a few days and just power through it and call it done, but nope, it's still a leader ender, and dog ears go off. Okay, 1 more for the done pile. And this one. Okay, so I am continuing the pressing. The top row, everything goes to the left. The middle row, everything goes to the right. The bottom row, everything to the left. And we'll send this through. One more seam and then we'll get back to some email questions. Getting these babies out of here. I do love this quilt, the hourglass one. It's probably one of my favorite leader enders yet. But I'm just done with it. Okay, so here's one seam. Now this is one side seam. Now this is important. These seams also need to both go one direction so that when you take the block and put it next to the block on its side, those seams will nest. When you take that second block and you put it on top of the first block, those seams will nest. I've really struggled with what to do to get these blocks to play nice with each other. And you know what? Sometimes there's just no way. We do the best that we can, but sometimes you're going to have seams that go the same direction. When that happens, I can either press open to distribute the bulk and pin those seams together, or sometimes I just pin them together when they're going the same way and just deal with the seam afterwards. It's impossible to get things to nest all the time. Okay, almost done on this one. I'm getting a little stack of untrimmed, unpressed leader enders. I don't want to take the time, so we're just going to do this. Only 40 bazillion of these left to go, but who's counting? All right, so ta-da, that goes the same way as that one. And here we go, one sugar bowl block. So if I turn it on its side, does that look like, whoops, this way maybe? Does this look like a cut glass sugar bowl to you? The middle part, I'm not sure what the top and bottom thing are supposed to be, but this part in the middle, who knows? I would love to know the history of this block. I think it's just a fun little variation on Jacob's ladder, and I just love it. I'm looking forward to making more of these blocks, all from my recycled shirt fabrics. I'm gonna give it a press. It's just a super cute size. I really, really like it. 6-inch finished blocks, big fan. Love those. Those little set in Y seams on the diamond star, hexi star block, not a fan by machine, not a fan. Okay, so let's go back to the inbox and see what's going on in here. Anybody from the Houston area, I would love to hear from you. I've got some information on the Quiltville Facebook page here on my page. You can just click my name and it'll take you there. Yesterday's post came from one of the guild members from the Houston area. They have set up an address to accept quilts, blankets, pillowcases, things like that, that they will be distributed. If you have heard from other people who are not members of that guild, they cannot tell you that it's not good to send quilts when the guild is asking for quilts. If the guild is asking for quilts, then they've got a place to put them and a way to distribute them. And I will believe the guild before I believe somebody who's not a quilter, who says, oh, just send money, just send money. Quilters need to give quilts. So if you've got something, check down into my yesterday's posts, and I will also be taking that information and making a posted note to put under the notes section of my Facebook page so that you have that information. This one's from Ginger, who says, made today. It says, sent from my iPhone, happy Thursday, Ginger. Oh, Ginger, that's so cute. That is so cute. She's getting Halloweeny out there. She's got a 8-point sawtooth star with some Halloween fabric in the center, and it's surrounded by some more Halloween fabric. How cute is this? Are you feeling like you want to get your autumn fabrics out, your pumpkin fabrics, your Halloween and witchy fabrics? Get them out. 'Tis the season. Tomorrow starts September, so there's no better time than now. That is beautiful, Ginger. Thank you. Here's from Usha, who says Carpenter Square. This is Usha from Austin, Texas. I recently tried Carpenter Square, but out of fabric scarcity, I changed to a different fabric instead of the plain square, which changed the total look of the pattern. The replaced square has the one with circles. I still love it, but this is not expected, so I have to try again and follow the pattern. Oh, yeah. So let's see what she's got. Oh, that looks wonderful. So she has tried, this is the big Carpenter Star. That's just the modern updo, so it uses stitch and flip corners on rectangles instead of the traditional diamonds with, yeah, those lovely Y-seam things. She's got, looks like cats and fish in her borders, and that's really cute. So the fabric, I'm going to biggie size this. The fabric with the circles is really cute, but it kind of, she says it made her design disappear. So this is one thing that I keep in mind. The scale of the print matters. So look at the smallest piece that's going to be in your quilt, and you'll kind of get an idea of how that fabric's going to look when you cut it up and sew it back together. It's always a good idea to make some test cuts or something. I still love that, and I think it's going to be beautiful wherever you put it. It would be a great table topper. Wonderful. Okay, so DTK, whose name is Tracy in Pennsylvania, says, love Quilt-Cam and appreciate all you do. I'm working on 4 patches here too. Mine are being made out of hubby's flannel clothes for a memory quilt. I'm using my 1971 Kenmore. Is that vintage enough? Yes, it is. And I bet that 1971 Kenmore will sew circles around anything that's plastic and has a computer chip in it. And let's see, she said, oh, Ginger, there's no photo attached there. This is Debbie from Texas, and she says, pinning my crab apples, finished 2 crab apples this week and the pumpkin quilt, and she'll be free motion quilting next week. So she's got her crab apples from Adventures with Leaders and Enders up there on the screen. Don't you just love how it feels when you take a quilt top and you sandwich it with the batting and the backing fabric, and you just know it's almost done. It's getting that close to being done. I really love the light purple that shows in here. That's just so pretty. Great job. Great job. So the whole flooding situation in Texas has just been devastating to watch. And again, my heartfelt prayers and wishes and hopes for those who are dealing with the aftermath. You know, the fabric and the machines and everything can be replaced. What can't be replaced is you. People matter more than things. So if you are okay, even though there's a mess, if you and your family are okay, we can start again from here. So Thank you for hanging in there, and just know we've got your back. We're praying and hoping good things for you, and hope you get lots of assistance with the cleanup. And if there's anything the quilting community can do, we will do it. Daisy says, Scrappy 25 patches. Tonight I'm working on more of these happy Scrappy 25 patch blocks. I'm making quilts to donate to flood victims. I sense a theme. Thank you so much, Daisy. She says, I can't do much, but I can quilt. Thanks for Quilt-Cam. I enjoy the company while I sew. Daisy, these are beautiful. They're up on her design wall, and the colors are just bright and cheery and will really bring someone a hug to their heart by doing this. So quilts that you make and donate don't have to be fancy. They don't need to be really expensive fabric, although if you are donating something, if you want to give the best that you're able to give. I always have a problem when somebody says, oh, just use it for charity. And no, you want to do the best that you can give, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean the most expensive or you know, the most outlandish or whatever, but give something you would be happy to receive. Okay, beautiful, Daisy, I love it. I don't know what size your blocks are, but maybe if those are 2.5-inch strips, they finish at 10 inches, which would be a great size. And go big. The fabric pieces don't have to be small. 3.5-inch squares would be adorable. Oh, Lynn online sent, here's her H quilt. So she sent a wonderful picture here. Oh, cute, Lynn. That is gorgeous. So she's got all kinds of blues from navy to aqua there, turquoise. Happy first day of spring to all my friends down in Australia. Wish that was me. I really hate to see summer go. It's a sad thing. You know, fall is beautiful, and I love the colors changing and everything, but I think the hardest thing is when the days get so short, and then my life feels short-sheeted because I'm ready for bed 2 hours after dark. Sorry for the beverage, but my son made tacos for dinner, and they were really good, but tacos are salty. Okay, so next one, we've got orange and neutral. Maybe this is like a Halloween, like an autumn block. And I'm going to try to beat my own game here and send the strips through first, followed by triangles, followed by 4-patch parts. Alrighty, so we're getting these guys. And I usually, even before pressing, just trim those dog ears off, then they're out of the way. Another for the done pile. When these are cut already in matched sets, they are just so easy to feed under the machine. Light bulb on this machine burned out, so pardon my light if it's glaring. There's just 4 of these and 3 4-patches. It's so easy to kit up for these blocks. This would be a great retreat project because you can do most of the cutting at home and then just subcut the 4-patch pairs at your table on a small mat while you're at retreat. Okay, and so here's this. And remember, always, 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 especially if you're sitting down at a new machine, grab that ruler and measure your strip set. Make sure it's 2.5 inches, and this one is. Make sure. Hi, everybody. I see lots of hearts and thumbs up and things flying by. Glad that you're joining us tonight. So we've had an exciting week. When Irene first came, we found on the trail cam that there had been bears in our yard, or a bear. We found a bear, one, a big one, came walking through the yard, got it on trail cam. When I got up there what day did I go up? Friday? It looked like there had been some other stuff had been knocked around the yard, and when I woke up the next morning, I couldn't sleep very well. I got up early the next morning. My cutting table in the basement is next to a window, and I'm cutting away, working on the mystery quilt, cutting away, and I look out the window, and there's a bear just sitting in my yard, just sitting down there on his haunches, just looking around. And I kind of freaked out. And I grabbed my camera and I made a small, short little video. And then I ran upstairs and I went into Dave and I said, wake up, wake up, wake up. There's a bear in the yard. There's a bear in the yard. And so he came out and to see it. And by the time he got out there to see it from the back bedroom to the front, there were 2 bears in the yard. And they had knocked over the deer feeder. We feed some fawns and stuff. And people may say, well, why do you feed the deer? That's totally an opinion and left for another topic. Needless to say, we are no longer feeding the deer. And as I wrote this in the blog, I said, and they knocked over the deer, and I crossed out deer and I put bear feeder. There is a video on YouTube. If you check my YouTube channel, just search for Quiltville or my name, Bonnie K. Hunter. You will see about a 5-minute video of a collection of short videos joined together of these bears in my yard. And the hubby says things like, see, they're just little guys. And I'm like, yeah, but where's their mama? I don't want a bear in my yard. So needless to say, no more deer feeder, done with that. And the next morning, the next morning, and only I would take a picture of this to send to the hubby. See, there was no bears and there was no bear feeder, but they did leave me a calling card, a big old pile calling card. There was a big pile of bear poop with nothing but corn in it. Corn. So it's like, okay, yeah, you're not doing this anymore. So the bears I hope are gone. I'll be checking our trail cams tomorrow to see if they've been back. Somebody said, I read on a website that they don't like pine sol, so I need to go around my yard and just pour pine sol around the perimeter because they don't like the smell of pine sol. And then maybe they won't poop corn in my yard either. So bears are migratory. Bears have not been seen in our area in years. I did some checking with the neighbors and with others, but this is a pair of like teenager age bears. Like the mama has kicked them out because she's going to have her new litter now. Who knows where mama went, but these bears found their way into our yard. Now on trash day is Tuesday, and all of the trash bins up and down the road are in big wooden crates with lids with hasps on them so that bears can't get into the trash. But no bears have been seen trying to get into the trash either. So I have no idea where these bears came from. We just want them gone. Okay, so I'm cutting 1.5 subsections here. It was just more excitement than I wanted, and yeah, no bears, please, no bears. Okay, so there we are with those. A little bit of trash, not much. When you give yourself just a 1/2 inch to 1 inch extra, there's really just enough to trim up the end of the strip set and leave a little smidge at the end, so you're getting good square cuts. Okay, now I've gone as far as I can on this block without removing everything from the machine, so I'm going to send through another leader and a pair. If I was feeling really overzealous, I might send through 2 pairs at once just to get this thing done quicker. Oops. Okay, hooray. All right, stuck on my phone cord. 4 triangles and 3 4 patches. We like it. Now, if I were at a regular ironing board, I would take this whole chain and lay it down on the ironing board. You guys know about chain pressing, right? When you're working with the iron stays on this one behind while you open up this one, and things kind of get a double press. And since things are all in the same orientation, it's really easy to cut units apart and pick them up and keep them in order. So if you had things sewn in a certain way, instead of having a pile of individual pieces, you just press first, cut second. And I just come through with my scissors, which is a lot less effort than over a cutter, making 2 piles of parts. So I am just going to trim those dog ears off while I've got the scissors in my hand. And usually I have just a small, I've got like a little lid of a tin that I trim dog ears into at the ironing board. All right, so we've got those, ta-da, and these. I was trying to think, how long ago was it that we did this? Was I back from my thing with Irene the last time we did Quilt-Cam? Did I talk about how we found my aunt a Singer 404 the last time we did Quilt-Cam? I don't remember. I'd have to double check the dates, but I remember on the blog I put out there that my aunt was looking for a sewing machine because the plastic versions she had just wouldn't sew over anything with any weight to it at all. In fact, she was at a quilt retreat and gave up because the plastic Kenmore and the plastic brother just would not sew, just would not sew. Can you fix these, please? No, no, we'll find you something. So Sherry, bless her heart, Sherry in Minneapolis, phoned a friend and found me a 404 for my Aunt Joy. And I am just so thrilled with it. So I posted about that about a week ago when I got home from playing with Irene. Okay, so here's this one. Ready to sew. I don't know. I think that maybe this way. Maybe that looks like a cut glass sugar bowl in the middle. Maybe, but I kind of like I love this weirdo shape. It's really kind of a cool shape, isn't it? So we'll sew that together in a second. Let's see who else is tuning in. Irene says, that happened while I was at the cabin after the last Quilt-Cam. Okay, thanks, Irene, for keeping me straight. I thought so. I just couldn't remember when it was. So, see, Irene left a week ago Tuesday.